introduced yet. Now, it's one thing that pretty much everybody who has a Sawstop or sees a Sawstop or has heard about Sawstop wants to see or expects to see, and that's the brake actually being activated to prove how effective and how just how much of a safety mechanism this whole contraption actually is. And so, as not to disappoint, we're going to do the same. Now, what I've got here, obviously, is a Sawstop Professional. At the moment, I've got inserted in it a 10-inch blade. It's a stock standard, actually, in this case, quite a budget blade. Funny enough, there's no point putting this exercise through on an expensive one. I've got a brake in the saw, obviously, because the saw won't operate without one. It's all powered up at the moment, and I'll go through the start-up regime on the saw in a second. And I've got just a bit of MDF here, which I'll just do a quick cut on just to prove that everything works normally. I have the guard obviously is in place, and I have the blade set down to about the right height for this sort of cut, which is the teeth are about half a tooth higher than the thickness of the board. And so not much else to say other than let's just do what is a very, very basic cut on a typical table saw. Some safety glasses on. Just doing a basic cross cut. And as you can see, absolutely nothing to it. We end up with an offcut. Now, this is where everything gets really interesting real quick. And true on this saw as any saw, what happens when your body parts end up in the line of fire? You've done this a million times. You're like a professional woodworker or a cabinet maker or whatever. You're a beginner and you're not really sure what you're doing, and you're concentrating on everything at once, and for whatever reason, lack of concentration, you're a bit tired, you're a bit distracted, someone's just come running into the workshop, whatever the issue is, you've gone and you've put part of your body in the line of fire. It's going to make contact with the blade. Now, as gruesome as that sounds, and the results are, understandably gruesome, there is no time to react if you realise that you've done it. It's not one of these things where you can go, that hurts, and pull your hand back. It's already, your brain's not fast enough. Is probably the simplest way of putting it. By the time you've realised you've done something wrong, it's already over. And so there's no opportunity there for human intervention into stopping basically what is a catastrophe. So what we have, obviously, in this case, is a mechanism that is looking out for you. People have actually said that they don't believe that this actually exists, that it's fake, it's camera work or something. And in some ways you can actually understand that perspective, as much as it's idiotic. But anyway, simply because the mechanism is actually operating so fast, it is literally operating faster than human perception. I've detailed that on my website already, but literally the speed, the amount, basically the frame rate of your brain is slower than the speed of the mechanism's operation, and you just literally cannot perceive something that fast. Anyway, enough sort of harping on. I have the very typical sausage, or what we will call a finger substitute in this case. No matter what happens, no matter how safe we think these things are, it would be sheer stupidity to literally do this and a demonstration. Simple you know, if you're relying on technology and something goes wrong, the only person who can be blamed is yourself. And I'm not prepared to put myself on the line to prove this saw. Sorry, fact of life. If we had a power cut or something, just as I was about to make contact, the saw would still be running and the mechanism would actually be disabled because of the power cut, and I'd end up, you know, in a bad situation. Now, as unlikely as that is, why tempt fate? So let's not. Now, one thing I will do though is I'm going to remove the guard and I'm going to raise the blade up to full height, because let's just put it into a, you know, relatively unsafe condition, or a perceived unsafe condition. You know, make it a bit more dramatic if nothing else, plus you can actually get to see what's going on. So, the Sawstop, very cool saw in as far as from an operator's point of view. It's really been designed for the end user's needs. We have an insert here that is actually physically locked down, and you have a little lever here to remove it. You can remove it directly. There's nothing else that I have to try and reach around the back or undo bolts or anything like that. The guard just, the insert just pops straight off. The whole guard here, there is a quick release lever at the back, and it just lifts free. Now, if I wasn't going to do that for this demonstration, but I needed to operate the saw without the guard, I'd then insert the riving knife. It operates just below the height of the top height of the blade, rises and falls with the blade, and obviously helps stop work contracting around the blade and causing a kickback. We're going to leave that off today too. I'll raise the blade up to full operating height. Lots of metal, lots of teeth. I will put the insert back on. And we are theoretically good to go. Mechanism's on. I have a green light saying that the safety mechanism is operating as it would expect. I am staying out of the line of fire. However, I have a body part in the line of fire. And now, one thing when you're demonstrating this, you actually have to make contact, physical contact with the sausage, because the sausage in itself does not have enough mass to cause the mechanism to detect. It needs to have this circuit made between the blade, the sausage, and my mass. Right, ready? 1, 2, 3. And that is as fast as it goes. Despite the fact that I've done this a number of times already, I tell you what, that is the most impressive thing that you can basically ever see in a workshop. Well, at least anything that I've come across so far. The speed that operates, the lack of damage to the individual, and if I can just, I'll bring it over so you can see. Certainly it's hit, and it's hit you know, pretty hard. But despite the peeling of the skin off the outside there, and that's because this was actually originally a frozen sausage, so I think the surface is quite damaged. The amount of actual physical damage to the sausage is about a millimetre deep. And that's only just one part of one tooth, the edge of the tooth, causing a score line. The second tooth, which obviously on a alternating top bevel blade, it hasn't, well, it must have made contact, but not enough to actually leave a significant mark. So we have the first tooth has caused 1/2 of the curve. The second tooth, which is the other bevel, has scratched about 1/3 the depth of the first one, and that's it. And obviously the middle, the V between the two, has had even less opportunity to make contact. So we're not even necessarily talking about a full width curve cut or nick here. We're talking about a small slice. Now, would that hurt? You better believe it. It would sting like crazy. Would it bleed? Absolutely. But the amount of pain and blood that would come out of that, it would be covered up by a basic bandage, and you might have to sit down for a while just to recover from the shock of it. But there is no trip to hospital. There's not months and years of recuperation required. The mechanism has done an incredible job, and it's an incredible machine. So that's the Sawstop mechanism. Now, just as we're as I'm still recovering, I'll tell you what, no matter how many times I've seen and actually done that, it still gives you a bit of the start. It really gets the adrenaline running, I tell you. I take that blade out now. Obviously, it's wrecked. You know, there's no point trying to resurrect a blade that's gone through that situation. If nothing else, it's probably got a little bit of a bend in it. You've certainly got a little bit of tooth damage. The blade's just not worth it. Even an expensive blade, it's just not worth worrying about. You're better off counting your stars, buying a lotto ticket, thanking yourself profusely for buying a Sawstop, and just put another blade in there and a new brake. The impressive thing too is when it stopped, not only did it just stop dead within a tooth or two's movement, it obviously got ripped right below the table. And the part of the mechanism is actually to release the blade and the arbor, so it physically drops, and the angular momentum of the blade physically pulls that down below the table. That's part of the impressiveness of the speed of it. Now, I'm going to turn off the saw. The saw is telling me that it's triggered. It's big red light there saying something went wrong. But I think by this stage you'd already know that. If I drop the actual saw down, that will re-engage the stops that actually hold the blade in place. There we go. Saw it click. Then I can raise it right up again. Now we'll just undo the... There we go. Take the arbor washer off. Here we go, got the lockout. That was actually causing me a little bit of problem there. Now we just have to get the brake, which is on 2 posts, and the blade, which is obviously on the arbor, which is effectively a 3rd post. We have to get all that off, and it's a little bit tricky now that it's all nicely jammed together. Sometimes you have to use just a little bit of encouragement. Alright, and here is the final result. Now once again, to reset the system, remove the insert. Now remove the riving knife just so it's out of the way. I'm now going to wind the whole mechanism down, which will cause the blade to click back up into its normal position. So once again, it can be brought up above the table so we can get good access to everything. Now, the red retaining pin down there, that gets about a quarter of a turn, and that gets pulled out. Now I just want to undo the arbor nut. Remove that. Take the arbor washer off. And now it's a matter of, there's 3 pins. There's the large one up the top here, there's one down the bottom here, and obviously the arbor itself. The 3 mechanisms all restraining the blade. So it's just a matter of encouraging it all to come apart. Everything being quite deformed from the process. Just gently slide that off there. Bring the blade with us. There we go. And then the whole mechanism, the blade and the brake, are now all very much an intimate mechanism, can all be brought out together. And again, you can see significant amounts of deformation there in this zone here, and just basically all over the brake, significant amounts of deformation, which is where a lot of the energy is gone that was used to stop the blade so quickly. Here we go. We have one perfect example of the Sawstop's result. Now, if I compare that for you to the original brake, you can see that we've got quite significant deformation in these areas here. They are designed weak spots, and they are literally designed to deform to absorb some of this energy. A lot of damage happens around this area here, which is probably what was causing a bit of grief getting it off. And obviously the brake itself has heavily engaged with the teeth of the blade. Now it'd be a little bit tricky for me to work out just exactly how many teeth passed through, but I'm seeing some marks on this tooth here, the first one clear of the brake, which looks like it has actually impacted on the aluminium of the brake itself, and that was it. The rest of the teeth have beautifully embedded themselves right in there, which has obviously brought the blade up short. Yet another decoration for the shed wall, the result of a Sawstop activation. Yeah, it's certainly it's hard not to recommend. Not only the saw, just for, as I was saying recently, the quality of the build, but this mechanism is just it's second to none. an impressive bit of machinery, an impressive bit of engineering. Just reverse the whole process. Now, this hole here goes onto the top pin, which is just underneath where the guard's quick releases, just there. This hole here engages this lower pin that you can see just down here, and this third hole here is where the locking mechanism engages. It's a matter of fitting the top hole on first, then the lower hole, and the whole thing very easily slides onto those two posts. Then you engage the lock, and then it's a matter of just fitting a new saw blade. Whatever guard that you're planning to use, again in this case the riving knife, and the table insert. And that's the saw up and running, ready to go again. And just a quick look at the starter box here. We have the overall power on-off switch, the start and stop for the blade to start the motor itself, which is just a click out to start it, and a push to stop, and you can bump it with the knee or anything like that. We have two indicator lights here, green light and a red light, and it's a combination of those lights that tell you the current state of the saw. And on the side here is the bypass. This key here is what allows you to set the saw so that the saw stop mechanism itself is disabled, if that is what you desire. So firstly, we'll turn the saw on. It goes through an initial start-up routine. It just takes a few seconds. At the moment, green light's showing, red light's blinking. When the saw is up and running, it's doing a self-test of the cartridge itself and to make sure that the mechanism's working. If it believes that it's working and all the tests come back positive, that light goes out, green light showing, and the saw's ready to go. And then it's a matter of simply and after you turn the power off, green blinking just to say that everything went as you'd expect. Now, without the saw actually being up and running, you can actually test to see if a piece of timber or something that you're going to cut is going to set the mechanism off. If the piece of timber is a little bit wet or something like that. You simply just touch the blade with it not running, and you can see right there it's saying that if I completed the cut right now, the mechanism would activate. The last thing is, if you do need to start the saw in bypass mode, the key, which is spring-loaded, so you can't just click it on, you actually have to hold it right across, and you can see it's currently doing a bit of a light blinking thing. You then pull the apart, release, and that light blinking was just another visual indicator to say the saw is up and running, but that the mechanism is disabled. So anyway, that's Stu Shed's Sawstop with one full activation. Very cool.